Okay, hello dear viewers. It is I, Peter, reporting to you now, bathed in an unnatural, ultraviolet light. The reason is because in this light, some things show up differently than they normally would. For example, take this tennis ball, which glows like a magical orb of its own power. Look at that. It lights up my face. In fact, this was a surprise to me. I was doing this project, and then I just saw this out of my eye elsewhere in the room, glowing like crazy. Okay, look at that. It is crazy. More on topic is this. I received a challenge, and everyone knows that my favorite thing to do when I receive a challenge is to completely ignore it. But in this case, it intrigued me, and then I ignored it. And then I received a similar comment weeks later, and I ignored that one too, until I had received maybe 3 of a similar type of comment, and it was this: to take glow-in-the-dark ink, like so. It's not glow-in-the-dark, but this is ink that only shows up under ultraviolet light. This is Noodler's The Blue Ghost ink, and I've used it previously in some videos, but usually I just fill a pen with it or use a glass dip pen with it, and then I draw with it while the black lights are on, and it looks pretty. But here's the challenge: to fill a pen with it and then draw with it with the black lights off and regular lights on, essentially drawing invisibly. Now this is kind of like drawing with my eyes closed, except that I can see where the pen is going. I just can't really see what is being drawn, I think. So we should test it out. Here is the pen we're going to try using. I bought this for myself recently. I have the TWSBI Eco already, and this is like a little, maybe the TWSBI Eco's little brother, the TWSBI Go. As you can see, the box, here's a cardboard box, and then this plastic box glows nicely under the black lights. I'm guessing the F here means fine. We'll slice of the label here and the other end. And it opens right up. There it is, the TWSBI Go. Now I'm very happy to see that the pen itself doesn't glow very much in the black light, because then hopefully once we fill it up with this glowy ink, it'll look very cool on the inside. Nice little TWSBI nib there. It's got some sort of spring action piston here, and the TWSBI logo on top, which does glow a little bit in the ultraviolet light. Now let's figure out how to fill it up. So I should push it. You push it. I guess I push it, put it in the ink, and then release, right? And it'll pull the stuff up in there. I haven't read the instructions, but I will just in case. How to fill. All right, there we go. Very nice. I guess this is the reservoir right here. Let's screw the back onto the back. And yes, this pen looks positively magical like this. What do you think? I look a little bit crazy with them. Something about black lights makes my teeth glow like crazy. And then my eyes look a little bit soulless or something. I don't know. Very nice. It does post. That's good. All right, let's test it out. Test. It looks like it's working great. Magically glowing lines, just as I wanted. Of course, this is under the black light. And hopefully, I'm going to leave this open to this page. Hopefully this won't be visible, or almost invisible under normal light. Also, it's very important to choose the right paper for a project like this. Right here you can see I have a sheet of Tomoe River paper, which doesn't glow very much or at all. But if I have another sheet of paper, you can see it glows like crazy. And if we use this paper, then the ink wouldn't glow at all because the paper would be glowing almost as bright as the ink. In fact, you can see the bright glowing paper through the Tomoe River paper. It's pretty crazy. So you need to find a paper that's non-reactive to the UV light. So we're going to use the Tomoe River paper. So I'm going to put this here like this to see how it looks in comparison. I think now is a good time to turn off the black lights, which I don't think I should be looking straight into. I checked to make sure these are a safe wavelength, and they are all the way over on the safe side of wavelengths. But when I look straight into these, I see a lot of weird little swimmy things in my eyes. Anyway, so I'm going to turn off the black lights, turn on normal lights, and we'll see. Right. Unplugging black lights. Here's normal lights. Some of my setup here is kind of casting shadows on the whole thing, but you can see it pretty much just looks like I have some kind of cloudy fluid in the pen, and I can kind of barely see where I wrote test on the paper here. It's kind of an indentation. Scribble some more. I can see a little bit. I don't know what, there's like a little bit of pigment right there. Not sure what that is. I can see what I've drawn just because maybe it's a little bit wet also, depending on how the light shines on it, but I think it will be pretty difficult to draw like this, but I'm going to try, and I think it might be a pleasant surprise how it turns out at the end compared to how I actually think it's going during the whole drawing. I'm going to move this black light out of the way and then start drawing. Now, one of the main reasons why for so long I put off doing a project like this is I was not sure that it would be interesting for you, my beloved viewers, to watch. I was thinking, would there actually be anything happening on the video besides just my pen and my hand moving frantically across the paper, all sped up, right? And it turns out there is. At first, it wasn't apparent, but at some point during the video, it became slightly more apparent. I took one of my lamps and I lowered it down to cast light across the paper at a more drastic angle. And the pen was, well, the Tomoe River paper is pretty soft, and I was drawing on a pad of it, so there's more soft paper underneath it, and it was leaving indentations in the paper. And what I really could not figure out is this the normal level of paper damage in a drawing? Or because I can't see what I'm doing and I'm so desperate to leave these indentations because it's pretty much all I've got to work with to see what I'm doing, besides a little bit of moisture on the paper before that dries. Am I pressing harder than normal? Like subconsciously trying to leave myself some breadcrumbs to work with, right? Because after a while, the paper really started to look kind of beat up. And it was really interesting and really kind of like, wow, there are a few points where I drew, mostly when I would draw the tip of the pen laterally, sideways across the paper, when it would really leave some deep creases. And I was just really curious. I'm like, first of all, I don't draw on this paper very much, but I have drawn on it before. I have some other drawings I did with it, but I mostly sent those off to someone already. But I hadn't ever noticed all these lines and indentations and grooves in the paper before. And it could be that they were there, but there was just so much ink on top of it black ink on the white paper, there's already so much contrast that I just didn't notice. Anyways, it was pretty difficult to draw like this. I found myself hunched over, face much, much closer to the paper than I usually draw. My posture is usually pretty good when I draw. I think it helps that I have pretty good vision. I've had the good old-fashioned, or newfangled, as it were, corrective eye surgery. But even when I had glasses, I sit up pretty straight, and I look at the paper and I draw, but here I was hunched over, face close to the paper, trying to get a good angle on the paper so that maybe some of the light from my lamps would light up like a little glint of the wetness of the ink for where I just drew. And for a while it was good, but then in the middle of this drawing I did stop and eat some dinner, and then I came back and I was totally lost. I just had to kind of pick up and keep going from some point. And it now this is a bad example because this is also something you shouldn't do under any circumstances, but it felt kind of like driving without glasses when you really need glasses. Like you're squinting a lot, squinting at each little thing, wondering if that's an important thing, really kind of scared all the time, on edge. It was not a very, like usually drawing is very relaxing for me. This was not quite as relaxing, right? But I got it done. And somehow the paper made it through in one piece as well. I thank the paper for standing up to it. I was also worried that sometimes when you're drawing with a fountain pen, it railroads a little bit, or maybe it stops flowing. And I realized maybe I wouldn't be as good at noticing if the pen wasn't working at all. That would also be a problem normally when I've done a few videos where I blindfold myself and draw, and I think, worst case scenario here, the pen runs out of ink or stops working halfway through the drawing, and I, spend half an hour or an hour or whatever drawing with an inkless, non-functional pen. That could also happen here too, but at least for a lot of the time I could see that there was something. There was some wetness at the tip of the pen. And yeah, I really do think it was it. It has a kind of weird, almost embossed nature to the paper. How it has all those indentations and everything. It's definitely got its own vibe. I kind of like how it looks without the black light on, even as much as with the black light on. I kind of want to try this again with some other paper, which isn't quite as, I don't know, it's kind of like the whole middle of the paper there is just kind of like smushed. Maybe some kind of paper that can hold the individual strokes a little bit better. Something that's maybe thicker paper, but still nice and soft. I'll have to think about it. Maybe do some testing. Maybe even just do a drawing with a totally inkless pen. What am I thinking of doing? Am I just imagining doing embossing? Is that what this is? Anyways, it turned out pretty good. Let's see what it looks like when we turn the black lights back on. All right, the drawing is complete. It is time for the grand unveiling. As you saw during the video, this is what it looks like. It's pretty much just a bunch of indentations on paper. I'm going to run my fingers across it to see what it looks like. And then once we turn the black lights on, we will see if it has got on my fingers at all. Also, I'm curious to see what else has got on my fingers throughout the process of this. But yeah, here we go. I'm going to turn off these other lights. I have quite a few of them. 1, 2, 3. And then I should have left one on. Gotta plug these in under here. Hold on. I'm under the desk. How does it look? Oh man, that turned out pretty good. What do y'all think? There's not too much on my fingers either. And yeah, Here it's glowing in the pen. Look at it go. Look at it glow. Pretty sweet. I think it turned out pretty good. I can see a few spots where I smeared it, a few spots where, like, I forgot I drew a line right here, but I came back and drew these other lines the other way. So it's okay. Most of this turned out really good, though. I'm really happy with it. Definitely different than it would have been if I could have completely seen what I was doing. So, anyways, thanks for bearing with me through that experiment. I think it was pretty cool. Let me turn on the lights again. I think these are pretty bad for me, actually. Ben Q sent me this sweet lamp that I had bent down really low to give like the ridges a little bit more emphasis from the shadows, right? Anyways, what I want to show you is another thing you can do even with the lights on is you can take a little UV flashlight like this and shine it down at the paper. Ooh, magical hand. But anyways, I'm gonna go now. Let me know if you have any other challenges for me to ignore. And I probably will. Peter Draws checking out. Bye.